Welcome to the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. And Ziggy was a pretty disappointing, as far as Vikings fans are concerned, a pretty disappointing Sunday night football game between the Rams and the Lions. A great game, but in terms of the NFC North, for us wanting, to take that lead with Chicago into Week 2, disappointing to see the Lions squeak one out. A game that they controlled most of the way, but towards the end there, the Rams with a great comeback, maybe spurred on by your text to our group chat saying this is over at 17-3. But the Rams and Lions wind up ending it up in overtime, 26-20. Detroit wins. And a lot of people, I was watching the game with my family, and my mom is like, it doesn't seem fair that the Lions get the ball and the Rams don't. I went, well, that's what everyone's going to say, Mom. And in overtime or in the playoffs, that's why the rule has been changed going forward. So it was a really fun game to watch, though. And Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, this little Lions-Rams duel, that's rivalry that's kind of been happening lately. It's been a lot of fun over the past few seasons here. So what was your big takeaway? It could be Detroit or the Rams. Did you have one major takeaway from this game that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, these teams keep meeting each other and we keep getting instant classic games, so that's nice. I mean, there's a lot of takeaways I think you could come away with this, but the biggest one, I think, is that the Lions offseason was a success, and a big one, right? The number one goal coming into this was fix our secondary. And I know the secondary was good enough to beat the Rams last year, but that was with an injured Cooper Kupp. This year, it was the Rams at full strength, at least until Puka Nacua went out, which was really unfortunate.
For a quarter, the Rams at full strength?
I mean, but you could just tell from watching this game, right? Stafford was on it. Like, this Rams team was clicking, and they were ready to go. And the Lions secondary was able to hold up and play well enough to hold them off. Kirby Joseph had a huge interception. They kept stopping the Rams from being able to score touchdowns when they were in the red zone. This team's defense is good enough, and especially with what we saw from Jameson Williams on offense, I think this team might be the most complete in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely agree with you on the take regarding the Detroit secondary. There definitely seems to be improvements, and throughout the season, I expect them to get better. Terry and Arnold, I thought he got picked on a little bit tonight. A lot of penalties on him, a few of them in the end zone. Where the Rams had the ball inside the 5-yard line twice, I believe, or close inside the 10 twice. One of them was an interception. One of them, they had the touchdown called back for the holding penalty. The Rams really you can look back on this game and point to a bunch of different scenarios where they left points on the board. But I thought the Detroit secondary kind of got torched by Cooper Kupp, 14 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown. Kind of building off last year, we were talking about how stud receivers towards the end of the season, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, had huge games against Detroit. CeeDee went for 227, and in the last two of the last 3 games, Justin Jefferson, where do I have his numbers here? He went for 192 and 141. So still kind of having a problem against superstar receivers, like not just having them be good, but truly great against them. So I'm not totally bought in yet on the Detroit secondary, though I am with you that it should get better. Jameson Williams, however, is scary. That's a scary thought for NFC North teams, for really anyone who's going to get in the Lions' way. 5 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. This offense tonight didn't really even involve Amon-Ra St. Brown, didn't involve Sam Laporta. And for Jameson Williams to step up the way he did, like that we all were saying if Detroit gets a second receiver, this team can be unstoppable. And I think you saw that towards the end of the game here. Once they got going, the run game is clicking in Detroit behind that offensive line. Then you get one-on-ones for the receivers. And I mean, that's by far the best takeaway, I think, for Lions fans, is Jameson Williams looked like a stud.
Yeah, and I will be the first to say I thought this guy had no hope. Coming off his really disappointing 2022 season. Then he started 10 games in 2023 and put up, 350 yards, 35 yards a game. It's very rare that you see receivers that struggle their first 2 years, no matter the reason. I know he was hurt. I know he was suspended, but it's rare that guys can turn that around and become stars. And we still don't know whether Jameson Williams will or won't, but the performance he put out tonight teams are going to be eyeing him in future weeks. And he gets the benefit of being with one of, if not the best tight ends in the league and one of the best receivers in the league next to him, which lets him do what he does best.
And that's what's scary about Detroit is that if you do go, if you are focusing on Laporta and Amon-Ra, who are probably, man, actually, I think Jameer is probably the second biggest weapon, maybe even the first. With Gibbs and Jameson Williams, that speed combination that Detroit has, whenever they touch the ball, it's just electrifying. I mean, Jack has teased me a few times on this show about being a big Jameer Gibbs fan, but every time he gets the ball, whether it's a little screen or a pitch, I mean, he is just blinding. Like, he's mesmerizing to watch. And I think if you add Jameson Williams to that, now they have the power with Montgomery. They have the speed with those two. They have the finesse and just, the overall greatness of Amon-Ra. It's a scary team, and the defense will continue to get better. It's you don't want to be facing the Lions this year. When they're going there, they might be, like you said, as good as anyone. For the Rams, though,
and I'll also say, I want to say one more thing,
sure,
which is I think something the Lions have going for them with all these weapons. Sometimes that can become a problem for teams when you've got a lot of personalities or conflict. Dan Campbell brings such a good attitude to this team. You did not see Amon-Ra St. Brown whining or complaining that he got 3 targets for 13 yards. You didn't see Jameer Gibbs moping on the sidelines when they gave David Montgomery the ball like 8 times in a row in overtime, right? This team just wants to win however they get there, and it's selfless play. And that's something that can take you a lot farther than just having individually talented players, Cam.
Completely agree with you. It's a great team chemistry that they have in Detroit right now. And over on the Rams side, kind of a similar feel to the playoff game where I think Rams fans are going to look back on this and say, we really should have won that football game. Just a couple things escaped from us, and Detroit was able to steal it in the end. But the Rams have a tough schedule. I went through their schedule before the season started in our predictions. And when you go through it, like, there are a lot of difficult games here. I guess with Jordan Love out, that becomes more winnable, but they go to the Cardinals. They have the 49ers coming up, go to Chicago. Like, this is the game in the NFC towards the playoff race here. Every single game matters, but I thought a great takeaway, 2 great takeaways for the Rams was, one, Cooper Kupp looked as healthy as ever. I said earlier, 14 catches, tied a career high, 110 yards and a touchdown. The concern is Puka and how his health is going to be. I think he should be fine. There we go. Zoom in on yourself there.
My Zoom's freaking out. I don't know what's up.
But Cooper Kupp was great. And then I thought Matthew Stafford was awesome most of the night. He had a couple throws get away from him, but to me, he's probably the best quarterback in the NFC. That's a lot of praise, but I think he's up there. And as long as he's there, they can beat anyone. So good takeaways for the Rams there, that their guys look good. Just kind of disappointing that they weren't able to finish the deal.
I will say this: the Rams can beat everyone if they can figure out the offensive line. The offensive line was a huge problem this game. And you saw that with the fact that Kyren Williams, I know he got a touchdown, but he was more or less contained 50 yards. Yeah, you saw Aiden Hutchinson, anytime he wanted, could get a holding or face mask penalty, and there was basically nothing the Rams could do about it. It's disappointing because they invested so much in the offensive line this offseason. Clearly, they knew this would be a problem, and the inside looked all right, but they've got to get healthier. And again, it's really unfortunate. There's nothing you can do to prepare for the kinds of injuries they had, but they've got to figure out very quickly what they're going to do on the outside of the offensive line, or it doesn't matter what Matthew Stafford and the rest do.
I'm really glad you brought up Aiden Hutchinson, because I think he was almost the MVP of the night. On a night where Cooper Kupp was amazing, where Jared Goff had made a bunch of big plays, Jameson Williams exploded. I thought Aiden Hutchinson, you mentioned it time and time again. He drew, I think, 3 penalties on like 2 or 3 of the final drives of the game. Just being a monster, and again, the touchdown that was taken back for the Rams was on a play where he got that face mask on him. So going into, I believe, is this year 3 now for Hutchinson? I think so. Year 3 for Aiden Hutchinson. But
yeah,
this is the time now where we're probably going to see him emerge. Will he get up to that level with the Myles Garretts and the TJ Watts of the league. And tonight he looked as good as one of those guys. So give Detroit, with the whole offense that they have, if they have a monster edge rusher, it's just another weapon that they can utilize. And he changed the game in so many ways tonight. He's in line for a huge season. Another great bright spot for Detroit. So overall, if you're a Lions fan, this is a great win against a really good Rams team. To pull it off, whether it's in overtime, no matter how it gets done, is a good feeling. So they got to be on top of the world with the sky high expectations that they have. They're probably waiting to be let down, but this is a great start to their season. Do you have any final thoughts here?
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see in another NFC playoff game these two teams meet again. I know we saw it last year. The game this time was good. The Rams, I'm confident after this that as long as they can continue to improve, they will be an NFC Wild Card team. So yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance that we get to see this game again. And I'd love to see that.
I would love to too. It's been great. I mean, both of them so far have been highly entertaining and highly competitive. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, like you said, if we get this. All right, there's week one. We have the Monday Night Football reaction tomorrow, and it's been a busy week one for us. We've been on for like 3 or 4 straight nights.
There's just been so many good games.
The games have been great. The games have been awesome. Outside of the Vikings mauling the Giants today, which felt pretty good. But we'll be back with the Jets 49ers reaction, and we'll see you then. And thanks for everyone who's been listening.